everybody, and welcome to Sunday Brunch. I am RM, and of course, we have with us today Russ Whitfield. Russ, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I had some chores I had to get out of the way today, but I was watching the boxing last night, and it was my daughter's first show, and I saw her in in the audience, which was it's just good fun. I was texting her like, "I can see you, man. The girl next to you was on the phone." She go, "Yeah, yeah, that's totally me."
Oh my God, that's so cool. That's so wonderful, Russ. How exciting. I
It
love
was.
stuff like that. I wish there was a replay so I could go and see it. Um, you know,
Well, I can't tape anything with my dodgy German box, unfortunately. It gives me access to all the channels in all the world, but you can't tape on it. But it's a small price to pay for the dodgy German box, let me tell you.
well, you know what I do sometimes when I can't tape something, I take my cell phone and I just record it off the TV like that way so I can have it on my phone.
Well, the thing was, obviously the camera's focused on the boxes, and I'm kind of like trying to. So by the time I would have got my phone ready and done it, the camera would have moved on. But I definitely saw her, so that was good fun. Anyway, what else has been going on? Not a lot. I haven't got a lot to report. To be fair, back in the rainy old UK right now. But Wendy's coming next Monday, so tomorrow in a week. So that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, and here we are. But what's going on with you, Arum?
Nothing much. I'm just happy. This is the pretty much the weekend before Thanksgiving, so
Hmm.
there's a lot of expectation and thought about what's supposed to be going on. I want to go to a restaurant, but I don't think there's the restaurant I want to go to is nowhere near where I live. So it's impossible to go to this restaurant. However, that's okay because I was promised by my brother and my family that they are going to take me to this restaurant sometime during December. But that's what I wanted to do for Thanksgiving, and I can't do it, but it's okay. Like I'm a grown up, I can handle this. But for some reason, I had this strong desire to go to Cracker Barrel for Thanksgiving, like and maybe next year. But I still do want to do that, and in lieu of that, I'm just gonna I am going to cook food, but I'm also going to order food as well. So I'm doing two things in that regard, and I should be seeing my family. So it's going to be a great celebration. And I can't even believe that it's this time already. It feels like it just snuck up on me. Soon we're gonna have our competition, Russ.
I'm ready, man. He says, having just come back from the States. So yeah, I'm back in training. I went to gym for the first time Thursday, and I took it easy. But my legs are still sore from the squats. So back tomorrow. It's going to be one day weights, one day run, one day weights, one day run. That will get disrupted a little bit next week because obviously Wendy will be here, but I'll be working for some of that time because she's going to hang out with MJ and go and do mudlarking or whatever it is they're going to go and do. So yeah, it's all good in Russland. Russ is a happy camper.
Oh, that's fantastic, Russ. And guys, I do have Russ's Amazon storefront information. Please do check out his books on Amazon. The link is here. And I also want to thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson, for putting that link there. Tom, I hope you are well today.
Thanks, man.
And guys, make sure you subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel. I'm looking for the link here, but go ahead and put it in there, Tom, so I can share it with everybody. We are all goof people, Tom, my moderator, collaborator, and good friend. Good to see you, Tom. And Brogu is here, Russ.
Oh, hello, man.
Brogu says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, RM and Russ. RM, you looked beautiful last night on Midnight Musings. No surprise, you always do. Have a great show today. Brogu, thank you so much for the kind words.
Sweet talking, bro, today.
I just love hearing
Past
wonderful.
the baby talk into the sexy talk. What am I going to say? I don't even know. This is a family show, kids.
Thank you so much, Brogu. I so appreciate that. And it is such a pleasure to be here today with you guys. Hope you are well, Brogu, today. Darth Plato is here, Russ.
Oh, hey, man. How's it going? Hope you're doing well.
Hey, Darth Plato. As you guys know, Darth Plato and I do review movies together, and we're going to resume reviewing movies this week, Darth Plato, after Thanksgiving. But I am so looking forward to doing the Napoleon review with you, Darth Plato. Hope you are well. Keely Chow is here, Russ.
Hold tight. Keely Chow. Come on, Bama.
Absolutely. Kim Chow, good to see you. Hope you're well. Irene Jacobson, how are you? Says, good morning, beautiful RM, and good old Russ, and obviously everyone else with a heart. Irene, we love you, my dear.
We do indeed. Irene is one of the nicest people I've ever spoken to and had a conversation with. She's a very, very sweet lady. And as Rob often says, she's a hottie as well. So that he's
Yeah,
spitting facts right there.
absolutely. Irene, how are the kitties today? Are they excited for Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up? Let us know how the kitties are doing today and your husband as well,
I'm
Irene.
just brewing up tea, guys. That's why I'm
Sure.
turning
Sure, I
away.
have my cup as well. We're all having our, appropriate beverages for.
That's why we were late starting today because our like she goes, oh hi Russ, you ready to start? And I'm like, fuck, I didn't make any tea. I'm sorry. So it's my fault that we kicked off 5 minutes late today because I was making tea, but I didn't brew it up. I left the tea bag in the cup. So now it's all ready to rock. I'm happy. I've got my tea. We can begin.
Absolutely, guys. I hope you all have your favorite beverage and or snack, whatever it is you like to have on Sunday brunch, just to enjoy it. And for me, Russ, this Sunday starts the holiday season for me. It's this
Hmm.
Sunday. Um, it's on. Like relatives have been calling. They want to know what's going on. Like I have to be on point. I have to have all my fancy jewelry and outfits ready, which I
Hmm.
really wear anyway. But they have to be like there and done, and my mother is excited as well. So that's good. Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington is here,
All right,
Russ.
gal. How's it going?
Hope you are well. And we also have Bonzo Kilborn. Hi, Bonzo.
Bonzo,
What's
Randy Russ. Yes,
at Positive Fandom, Randy Russ. That sounds like that might be your heavy metal
you know it, man.
name, right? Randy
Oh,
Russ.
dude, I've got to tell you. So in 1988 or 1989, I went to one of our venues here in London, up in North London, a town and country club it's called. And my favourite band were playing that day. And I went early and I met the band and I got to play a little bit of music with them and all that stuff. Anyway, the night of the concert, they were filming it for ITV. We used to have a station here called ITV. Anyway, I only found it on the internet, and there's a couple of shots of me at the front going mental with my hair and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
100%, I'll send you that link, and yeah, it's so funny. Like it's literally looking back in time at myself, and I'm really giving it some. Like I loved them so much, I was so into heavy metal. I still am, but it was my life back then. So it was one of the greatest days, one of the best days. It was awesome. So yeah, I'll send you that. Remind me.
Yeah,
Oh
I'd
shit,
love to see that.
Retro's here.
Oh, wow. Well, hello to you, Retro, and hello to Mario Lopez, who says
Hey
hi.
Mario.
Yeah, it's so good to see you, Retro Nerd Girl. How are you today? Um, it's so good to see you. Hope you are well. Hope you're ready for the holidays, Retro. Guys, make sure you're checking out Retro Nerd Girl's channel. She is doing so many fantastic live streams, and it's just so great. Retro, certainly do let us know what you've been doing recently. It would be great to hear that as well. Who else is here today? We also have Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies. Says good
Oh hey.
morning. Hey, Mr. Londell. Guys, you got to check out Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies as well.
Hmm.
They do such great movie reviews there too. It's so much fun to look at the stuff that we love, and that's what it's all about: is looking at the movies that we enjoy and really reminiscing and bringing that fantasy and fun back to life. So do also check out Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies. And we also have, who else is here? That old Yorkshire geek who had a stream the other night. And let me know if I'm right about this. That old Yorkshire geek who happens to be quite an accomplished artist. He also was watching, I guess it's like a rocket launching, Russ. I don't know what company is. But there was a rocket launching, and he was talking about how exciting it was to see this progress. Recently, I've been doing reviews on For Old Mankind. It's so fantastic to see this excitement in these space programs, and certainly I want us to go even further. I want us to be able to kind of stay on the moon and stay on Mars, thanks to For All Mankind, which
Hmm.
they depict that. So in my mind, I'm thinking it's possible. but I don't know if it's going to happen in our lifetime, Russ.
Yeah, maybe it depends, doesn't it, with all this private funding coming in, like Elon and the Amazon guy who's what's his name, Bezos, sort of dick measuring about who's going to get the rocket, the biggest rocket, highest up wherever it's going to be. So you never, money is no object to these people, right? So they've got the billions to spend on these things. So you never know. Private travel might be the way uh, of getting into at least inner space. I'd be interested to know what part of Yorkshire old Yorkshire geeks from. I had a girlfriend from Yorkshire many, 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 many years ago. Joanne, she was from Settle. Well, she was actually from Giggleswick, but Settle was the nearest town. Settle and the Staveley brothers. So if you were in Settle, you knew who the Staveley brothers were. They were like the local Yorkshire mafia.
Well, guys, do check out the Old Yorkshire Geeks YouTube channel, which is wonderful. And it is good to see you, Old Yorkshire Geek, this morning. And Bonzo Kilborn, you're leaving me speechless, who says, no amount of accoutrement can improve your perfection. Wow, Bonzo, I might have to give you my firstborn or something after this.
Or maybe just your number, RM.
Bonzo, what a lovely thing to say. And I absolutely love it. I am just going to take this and keep it in my heart. Bonzo, you are the best. Thank you so much for the kind words. The Killer Shrike is here. Hello, the Killer Shrike. I see 2 swords. That's swords, or right, Russ? Those are swords. The Killer Shrike has 2 swords.
I like the avatar as well, though. I don't know who that is. Is that the Killer Shrike? Is that who that is on the avatar? It's really cool. And that old Yorkshire geek says he's from West Yorkshire, Dewsbury. I've never been to Dewsbury.
Excellent, excellent. That is good to know. Brogan says he loves heavy metal as well. I love heavy metal
right.
as well.
So that was Saxon I went to see back in the day. They were my favourite band back in the day, Brogu. So it was such a thrill to sort of meet Biff and the boys. That was awesome. But yeah, the good old 80s.
And guys, here's Retro Nerd Girls YouTube channel. I remember Saxon, but I don't remember any of their songs. Russ, what was your favorite song?
What was my favorite Saxon song? I think Crusader was my favorite, but they had so many good ones. But you know what? They didn't age very well in that they're still doing music today, and the music today is excellent. But when you listen to some of their older stuff, it just didn't age as well as Iron Maiden. And I know that would get me shot in the Saxon fan club for saying it, but Iron Maiden's like early, like late 70s, early 80s stuff still holds up, whereas Saxon's does sound quite dated. But my favorite Saxon album absolutely was Denim and Leather. I just love that album. I had it on blue vinyl, which you're not supposed to play, and I played that fucking thing to death. Like every single song was a banger on it. But then the follow up to that was Crusader, and that didn't go down so well with the fans because it was they were trying to appeal to the American audience, which makes sense because obviously the money's in the United States, but they lost a lot of fans through that. They went through a wobbly period. I still liked all their stuff, but yeah, Crusader was my favorite song, but Denim and Leather definitely my favorite album. Even the title track, which is called Denim and Leather, it's such a banger. Now I want to listen to Saxon. Goodbye, guys. I'm going to go put some. Oh, Old Yorkshire Geek says Innocence is No Excuse is my favorite Saxon album. That was also a banger. I absolutely, yeah. What is it? Rockin' Again was the first single off that album. Back on the Streets Again was the first one, and they followed it up with Rockin' Again, Rock and Roll Gypsy, all of that, Broken Heroes, fucking banger. I actually like the follow up as well, which I can't remember the Destiny, and everybody hated it because it had like synthesizer in it, but I quite liked it. There's one on there called the Calm Before the Storm, which is an absolute banger. Fuck me, we've turned it into a Saxon stream. I can't believe it. There you go. So I apologise everybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about or what Yorkshire Geek's talking about. Oh, because of course Saxon were from Yorkshire. They're from Barnsley. In I think that's South Yorkshire. Don't shoot me, Yorkshire Geek. I can't remember my Yorkshire geography too well, but yes.
Wow, no, that's great to know. I had no idea that they were British. There were so many fantastic British metal bands just in general. I think they started the movement as far as I'm concerned. Irene says, I saw SpaceX was launching a really big rocket. It was big, wasn't it, Irene? Nathan Trujillo is here, says, good morning, Art and Russ. Hi, Nathan.
It looks like he's at a concert in his avatar. Is it a Saxon concert, Nathan? And if it isn't, just pretend that it is because we're on the Saxon.
It's an EDM concert, Russ. No,
Right?
I love it. I love it. And Old Yorkshire Geek says, yeah, I was watching the second test flight of SpaceX's Starship. It went further than before, but still ended with a big boom. Well,
Oh,
that's okay.
it blew up, did it? Oh dear.
Yeah, it was a test, but that's okay, because they have to start somewhere, and we know that that's going to be the case. Um, Me too, Irene. However, watching For All Mankind, watching The Expanse, I'm ready to go out there. I'm not going to be a belter because I'll always be an earther, but I'm enjoying this stuff. I didn't know I was going to be on such a space exploration fantasy thing right now. So um it is kind of interesting when you look at it that way.
Maybe
Um
you should start blogging about your space exploration fantasies. I'm sure that they would be a right riveting read, or I'm sure that it would be Barbarella-esque, and there'd be plenty of Captain Kirk green chicks in it. I mean, I'm there for it. Fuck it. I'm talking myself into this. This writes itself, RM. I want you to do it. Just start off RM sexy space blog. It's going to be great. Boldly going where no YouTube presenter has gone before.
I really do like the thought of having fantasies in space like that, and they would be sexual fantasies. It's true.
Of course.
But I think, from an adult point of view, I think it's fun and exciting, and
Well, isn't Sydney Sweeney going to be in the new? She's like the new Barbarella. I can't. If they're look, DC. Hello, DC. If you're watching, make the Power Girl TV show with Sydney Sweeney. She literally is Power Girl. I mean, you know, she's got all of the right things and all of the right places. She looks like a Kryptonian. Make that show. But they are remaking Barbarella, I think.
Yes, but
So
it's not there. The orgasmatron is not going to be in it.
what?
Yeah, I know. That's my favorite part. Um, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it will be PG-13 Barbarella as opposed to
It look
18
it
Barbarella.
looks like a machine, but there's probably somebody inside that machine, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Um, so I just thought it was so great because the guy who's playing it is like so concentrated on it.
Mhm. Well, to be fair, if I was controlling the Orgasmatron and it had Sydney Sweeney in it, I would be laser focused with the concentration.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie.
I knew you guys were like that, but this really it was very eye-opening because I'm like, he's so concentrated on this. And I'm like, thank you for being so concentrated. We so appreciate it. Mikey Lito says, good morning, everyone, and a pleasant Sunday to our hosts, and Russ, and our moderator, Tom Jr. Jackson. Well, Mikey
There
Lito,
we
thank
go.
you for being here. It's always great to see you. Mikey Lito. Hopefully, we're going to be able to hang out with Paul from Long Beach, right, Mikey Lito? This upcoming Christmas, I'm looking forward to that. Going forward. And guys, here's the link to Mr. Mondell's Groovy Movies. You're gonna love it. He has so many fun things on there. Blasts from the past. You're gonna enjoy watching those streams. So please do check that out. Now, the Shrike is letting us know that the Killer Shrike is a villain from classic Marvel comics.
And is that him in the picture?
I'm guessing it must be.
We
Uh,
will find out. That's you can answer us, Killer Shrike, if you've got some time. I'll be so grateful if you'd let me know because he looks really cool. He looks really fucking cool. I'm not
he
gonna lie.
does. In a very odd twist of things, my mother, who happens to be 86, remembers Captain Marvel, as a man. Captain
Hmm.
Marvel was a man. And when she had heard the Captain Marvel film was coming out, that's what she thought it was about. And she's like, well, where's Captain Marvel? And I said, well,
Yeah.
tell me what you know about Captain Marvel. And she says, he saves the day. Now, I know nothing about Captain Marvel, but apparently my mother is a huge Captain Marvel fan. Who knew? Who knew my mother of 86 years old liked Captain Marvel? So I think it's really funny looking at these classic Marvel comics. So important because they're still relevant to so many people. The Killer Shrike, we're so happy that you are bringing that comic character
Do you
here.
know, it's funny you say that because one of the first comics annual I ever bought, my Auntie Valerie bought it before we was a Marvel comics because she didn't know the difference between Marvel and DC, just that I liked comics. And it had Luke Cage in it, Spider Man was in it, and also the main on the cover was Captain Marvel, the blonde guy, and he was like caught in this outer realm, like his spirit. and this kid, and I think it was Bucky Barnes, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, but I remember the guy had a blue jacket and red pants and all that, but he found the bracers, you know, the Captain Marvel bracers, and then boom, he hit them together like Wonder Woman. And then all of a sudden, he becomes like, it's kind of like a Shazam moment where, and almost like Firestorm as well, where he's sharing his consciousness with Marvel. I'm sure it was Marvel. I can't remember, but yeah, so a bit of a Captain Marvel connection for us there.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'm so glad you mentioned this, Russ. And certainly there's a rich history of a lot of very popular and very well known characters that we're not really seeing right now, but we want to see. I have a feeling the public wants to see those classic characters again. And of course, thanks, Old Yorkshire Geek, for sharing that with us about Innocence is No Excuse. And Brogu says that he has denim and leather
It's
as
such
well
a
on.
banger. It's such a banger. And the band's played on, man. Denim and Leather. Come on. Come on. What an album that is. I'm trying. Princess of the Night. Uh, I'm literally going to put it on. I've got to go to the hospital after this to see my stepfather. So I'm literally going to put Denim and Leather on in the car and just listening to it back to back. And of course, The Eagle Has Landed was the final track on there. It was just so good.
Hey, and Dark Plato says ACDC was the only band resembling metal I ever listened to before.
Funny
And
enough, I was listening to them today. For Those About to Rock is my favorite
we
ACDC song.
salute you.
Yeah, yes, we do. Fucking awesome, man.
I can't do his voice very well, but we salute you. I was supposed to go to like one of their last concerts. Well, this might have been about 15 years ago in the States. My best friend was going. He invited me to go. It was in the summer. It was like the perfect thing. They were all well, and he said the concert was just like they were performing their music from 20 years ago. They didn't miss, but I couldn't go because I had to go to Ethiopia for my research project, and it
Oh,
was either research project or ACDC concert. And I'm like, this is so unfair. Like, why should life be? You have to make these decisions. So yeah, I did the project instead.
that's not very metal of you, or it would have been more metal to go fuck the project, man. I'm going to ACDC. However, I saw them in the 90s, and I was obviously much younger then. And it, you know, they say when it's too loud, you know, you're too old. But it actually was too loud. Like it was at Wembley Arena, which I don't think is there anymore. And I was down in the front right, and you couldn't hear it.
Did
It
it
was
make
just
you sick? Did you like?
like that. I know it's supposed to be loud, but it was almost like they messed it up in that
Yeah.
you just couldn't, and especially with that sort of tinny, you know, Gibson SG that Angus Young has. It wasn't great, and my ears were ringing for days afterwards. I mean, I used to put my head in the speakers and all that kind of stuff at the nightclubs, but it was literally too loud. So it wasn't a great show, unfortunately. But at least I've seen them. Like, at least I can put that on the gravestone.
You're very lucky. And of course, my favorite ACDC song is You Shook Me All Night Long.
Hmm.
But I have to say that their songs are incredibly catchy. They feel timeless. And you can pick up that album and be inspired. I think it makes your blood, you know, increase and flow and wakes you up, and kind of it's very kind of supportive, even their
Well,
music.
that's what I found. That's why I love that for those about to rock so much, right? Because it starts off, you know, "Ding, ding, ding, ding," and you're just sitting there because you know what's coming, and it just, oh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, man.
And I think that kind of like celebrating an intimate act. They could have said anything, but I think he was just like, "Yeah, she shook me." Like it's like, yeah, like it's fun, it's playful. They don't go too graphic into it, and yet you can kind of fill in the blanks. It's fun. They want you to have fun. They want you to celebrate life.
I don't know. It's pretty graphic. There's nothing that she wouldn't do, knocking me out with those American thighs and all that stuff,
Well,
right?
yes, but I guess pretty much they didn't necessarily go into specific things that she
Hmm.
was doing. And
No, lots of other metal bands do though. I mean,
yes,
you know,
and I also think that it allows you to put in your own fantasies in there. It's like if there was nothing she didn't do, then she did everything that I wanted her to do. And
yeah.
and that's very satisfying. Now you don't have to kind of compete with, well, you'd never believe what she did. She did this. It's like, no, we understand it. I think they want you to enjoy your life. And if you have a metal band that just wants you can bring your entire family to an ACDC concert and
Yeah,
have
that's
fun with
right.
it. This is a
That's it.
very, very different kind of experience for metal, I think.
Well, you know what? That was hair metal, and that was the big difference back in the 80s between the new wave of British heavy metal and Los Angeles metal, right? So you had bands like Motley Crue or Dave Lee Roth, Van Halen, Poison, all these guys dressed up in fantastic clothes and makeup and all that sort of thing. Whereas our stuff was much more, it was about fighting dragons, or it was about motor cars or motorbikes, and because it's a very very British thing. But whereas in America, they literally were on Sunset Strip, so they were talking about the babes on the beach and cruising, in their on their motorbikes, on their Harleys, and all that stuff. So it was much more fun than what we had, and there's really no equivalency. Even our sort of glam rock bands like Tiger Tales or somebody like that, they do a absolute banger though called "Got Your Number Off the Bathroom Wall," which I recommend anybody that likes hair metal put that one on. Um, I think they're English anyway. However, what's my point? My point is that American stuff was purely American, and it was just something that we couldn't do. Whereas American bands could do British style heavy metal because it was more of a theme than a way of life. And I didn't really like glam metal at the time. I have to say, I was very anti it. But as because I was like, the cut off jean jacket with the patches on it and over the leather and the tight pants and all of that stuff. Yes, yes, that's me on the floor of my girlfriend's house with my Saxon Crusader t-shirt on. There you go. Um, yes, my
And
epic
the
hair.
leather jacket in the back.
Yes, literally my leather jacket in the background. Yeah, my mum fucking threw out, and I was so annoyed when I went back to the family home the one day, and I said, "Mum, where's my leather jacket?" She said, "I threw it out. That dirty old thing. It's disgusting. I'm so glad you've grown out of that." But it had all signatures like Bruce Dickinson, Biff Byford, and everybody like that in the lining. Where I used to get them to sign my jacket after the concerts. Yeah, and my mate Chris was a graphic designer. And I said, "How do I?" We were talking about. He said, "Oh no, put some spray mount on it." It was the spray mount was really sticky, but it um, kept all the ink in place. So it was like I was tattooing my own jacket.
It sounds unbelievable, and I'm sorry your mom threw it out. That is painful. And I did want to mention Mr. Lando's Groovy Movies. He says he'll have a today's watch party at 3 Central. He'll be watching When Worlds Collide from 1951. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lando's Groovy Movies. And Retro, please let us know your last video and the one that you have coming up as well, guys, because there are so many great streams that I'm seeing, and I can't remember all of them. But Retro, please put it in the chat so we know what you have coming up as well, please. Bonzo says, Rand back in my day, Whitfield.
I would actually put a Yorkshire accent and talk about when I were a lad and all that stuff, but I think a Yorkshire geek could probably kick me in the bollocks, so I'm not going to do it. But yeah, back in my day, yeah, 747, another banger.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go and listen to some of this stuff because, to be honest with you, I've heard a lot of music, but I don't remember all the artists, like the names of the songs. So I need to refresh my memory. Dark Plato says, wait till you get a load of what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, Dark Plato, we can't wait to hear this.
We cannot. That's awesome.
And Bonzo says, I walked outside a few years back, West Coast, and just happened to see a SpaceX rocket launching. I thought the Russians were coming. Oh my gosh, Bonzo, that is incredible. What a story. That might make a good story.
Mm-hmm.
You're
like Red Dawn, right?
Yeah, I really like that, Bonzo. That's inspiring. And thanks for sharing. And Jamin D says, hey there. Hello, Jamin D. Good to see you today, as always. And yes, thank you, Tom. Says, yes, she's going to be Barbarella. Yes. And Old Yorkshire Geek says, I just went ahead and Googled her. Let's see if we can get her on here as well.
Oh no, we don't have to look at Sydney Sweeney, do we? Oh no.
Yes, we do.
Oh. For those about to rock, yes, we do.
She's wonderful. Now I've seen her in a number of shows.
She was in that show with Alexandra Daddario called White Lotus, which I tried to watch, but it just wasn't my demographic. Because I heard it was really good, and I heard she's really good, and I heard Alexandra Daddario is really good, and I'm a big fan of hers. But I couldn't. Maybe I'll give it another go. Maybe I should try and do that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
yeah, all you should
I
geeks
got
points
the
out.
right photo, Russ. I had to
Hmm.
find the right one. So hold
Hmm.
on one second. There we go, guys.
Yeah. Mm.
So, guys, this is the new Barbarella. I think it's going to be incredible. Maybe they'll have things that we haven't seen before, right, Russ? So I like to fantasize about that. That's just me. Um,
Hmm.
and thank you, Bonzo. We'll have to crowdfund our own Barbarella orgasmatrons for everybody. Thank you, Bonzo. Everybody, every woman deserves an orgasmatron. Um, and
Except no substitutes.
I love this photo of her, especially.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
Yeah, this is a stunning photo, and I wanted to find the right photo, and I feel like this one does her justice. Um, and Tom Junior Jackson says to check out Mikey Lito's channel. Tom, did you put your channel link in the description? If I did and I missed it, I apologize. But Tom, please go ahead and put your channel link in there so I can also show that Tom Junior Jackson also has his own YouTube channel. Yes, Mikey Lito, our get together is going to be phenomenal.
Hmm.
Um, okay. So, oh, a question about EDM and disco. Well, some just like a lot of disco, a lot of EDM is electric. I mean, they both use synthesizers and Roland machines and beat machines and things like that. And a lot of EDM is just sampled stuff. I mean, I know people talk about rap music and sampling, but EDM samples like crazy. It's almost 100% sampling, a lot from disco and a lot from R&B. So, a good portion of what you're listening to in EDM is remix stuff, but that 808 machine, I mean, Manchester is the home of just being able to pull a lot of that music and remix it. And that was the first place that they really started to DJ electronic dance music. And
Mm.
people went and they said, no one's going to show up if there's just a DJ, but they did. And in Manchester, I can't remember what was the name of the club. It's called,
The hacienda.
I'm sorry.
The hacienda.
Yes, the Hacienda. And that was the place that started, let's say, people going to the club. And so while the Hacienda was happening in Manchester, I was happening in the tunnel in Manhattan in the Lower East. Yeah, I think it's the Lower East Side in the tunnel and Sound Factory and Limelight, all those fun places that kind of copied the formula of the Hacienda. So it was a great time. Mikey Lito, I wish I could have run into you during those times, Mikey Lito. I have a feeling you and I would have been having a good time at these clubs. I don't even know if you like EDM, Mikey Lito, but to me, the relationship between disco and EDM is that you're always going to hear both in the clubs, no matter what, especially now. Tom Junior Jackson says that Captain Marvel was the original name of Shazam.
Yeah, it was, but there was a big legal battle over it, I think, and oddly, I think yeah, Shazam was definitely before Marvel, Captain Marvel, but I think they just agreed to disagree, and DC Captain Marvel became Shazam after that. Certainly in the New 52, they didn't even bother with the Captain Marvel moniker at all. He was just Shazam. Don't know, don't know where that left Mary Marvel though, but not too up
And
on my Shazam comics.
I'm not too up on it either. I know Irene says they have two Captain Marvels. The man one is known as Shazam, I believe. Thank you so much, Irene, for also confirming that. And Mr. Londo's Groovy Movie says Captain Marvel was serialized in the 30s and 40s. So she probably saw it in the movie theaters as a kid during Saturday matinees. Absolutely. My mother used to take the trolley from where she lived in Brooklyn. It cost a nickel to go to the theater. And then they would be in the theater all day long watching movies. And it was like a thing. And her cousins would come from all the way different places in New York City. They would take the trolley or the train into the same theater. I can't remember which ones in Brooklyn, but they would all spend their entire Saturdays in the theater. There would be news, there'd be Captain Marvel, there'd be movies, everything, Russ. It was one-stop shopping. It was there. They didn't have TVs, not until I think maybe the late or early 1950s. So that was it. That and radio, right, Russ?
Hmm. Yeah, I used to listen to a lot of radio. I don't listen to it so much anymore, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mikey Little, thank you for bringing this up because I certainly don't have any hate for Brie Larson at all. I think she's a great actress. I don't know this woman. And as far as I'm concerned, she can say whatever she wants to because it's her life. So I don't really care what she has to say. I think she's a great actress, and I think she can continue to work on her career. But I can't sort of hold on to what she says. I don't really know this lady. What do you think, Russ?
Um, I, I don't really have an opinion on her, one way or the other. I know that she was. There was a lot of hate for something she said at one of these, and I think we spoke about this on the podcast before. She was at an
Yes.
event and she basically said, "Oh, if you're a 40-year-old white man, this movie isn't for you." And of course, that just blew up. But it was a really tiny event, sort of like best kept Saxon album from 1988. With like 13 people in the crowd. It wasn't a huge thing, but the internet being what it was, and people who want to disagree with that particular philosophy, jumped all over it. But I was listening to, I think it was it was the Critical Drinkers stream. He was talking about it, and they seem to come to the conclusion that maybe she doesn't even think this at all. That their conclusion of it was she just seems like one of those people that's just told what to say by the PR guys, a bit like the young girl, the Snow White. They've just been told what to say and they're just repeating what to say, and they've taken up this particular social justice banner because that's in vogue at the moment. Maybe she doesn't even think that at all, because she sort of walked back on a lot of that stuff, in that she doesn't talk about that anymore, because I mean, maybe she's realized that actually people don't like this stuff, so I'm just going to say what people do like, because that's kind of her job, to get people to like her, to go to the cinema to watch her movies. But I
Yes.
think,
I'm sorry. Go
sorry,
ahead.
I just think I'm like many people on I guess on my side of the fence. I'm so over the culture war. It's almost like I don't even want to fight anymore. Yeah, I'm just, oh geez, if that's what you think, that's absolutely fine, mate. The more that this nonsense goes on, I was listening to Robert Meyer Burnett, and he's losing subscribers because he doesn't believe in, because of his statements on the recent conflict and all that sort of thing. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man, I've just come back from the United States. It's the greatest country in the world, bar none, bar
Thank you, Russ.
none.
Thank
And
you.
you've got people, in the United States, talking about destroying the United States, and talking about that. They've got no idea. You've got no idea what it's like, most of them outside of the United States, and just how good you guys got it. You've got it's fantastic. I know it's got its problems, but if on the whole, greatest country in the world, don't slag it off. It is fucking brilliant. You guys are free to do as you will for the most part. So
Mhm.
going and attacking Robert Meyer Burnett for his political beliefs and unsubscribing him, and it's just asinine. And it's all part of the culture wars, and I'm really beginning to hate it, and I can't wait until they're over, frankly. And
Yeah,
that's me. That's my soapbox. Sorry.
no, I'm glad you mentioned that. And I agree. I think, that it's very interesting that, the other side of this, Russ, is that even if somebody does feel this way, who cares? So what? Like
Mm,
that's my, I know that's a Joy Behar comment, but you're going to meet a ton of people who are going to feel this way, and you just roll it off and go on with your day. Because if you even waste a second feeling angry over somebody else's comments that doesn't even really have anything to do with you, you kind of like wasting your time with this. You're not ever going to change their opinion, whether it's her words or not. Just go on with your day and
mm.
enjoy watching her as an actress.
Yeah.
You,
Or don't.
yes.
Or
Yeah.
don't. And that's kind of the point, And I think, I mean, people have spoken about this on streams, and I know we spoke about it yesterday. That there's just a sort of growing sense of apathy coming in now, even from channels that are making bank talking about this stuff. There's only so long you can go on just hating stuff. So I just hope things start to equalize, and we start, the studios start to realize that actually, um, that these packaging up them. Yeah, this is what Arum and I spoke about, and it's news to nobody. But Marvel and or Disney chasing after this female and non-white demographic that exists, and to the exclusion of all other demographics, and being nasty and mean to those other demographics and all that kind of stuff, and playing the big, the characters Captain Marvel, who not Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, and all that are now, you know, sort of fall guys for strong, empowered people. You already had a female audience, you already had a non-white audience, and those people loved Marvel for what it was because Marvel was awesome. And now you've gone and excluded a bunch of people and told them that you don't want them indirectly, you don't want these people watching your films, and you're wondering why you're sealing a tail off. So it's news to nobody, but hopefully, we saw in Captain Marvel, which everybody thought was going to be more woke than woke. Jack McWoke, winner of last year's Mr. Woke competition, was actually not that at all. It was nothing like that. There was nothing in there. I mean, it was a bit of a nothing burger as a movie, so I'm told. But all the people that were going to hate on it for, you know, being girl boss and all that kind of stuff, they've all turned around and said, well, yeah, actually, you know, we can't lie. There's nothing in there. It's just a nothing burger of a movie. And that movie was subject to a bunch of reshoots and trouble production and all that kind of thing. But you've got to kind of hope that maybe they've realized, actually, let's just get back to making good films again, where we don't belittle our characters and we don't sideline certain characters in favor of other ones to make the other ones look good, and we just get back to a good MCU. That would be, everybody wins. Everybody wins. Marvel win, Disney win, we win. Everybody wins if they go back to making good films with no
Now,
agendas.
since I have seen the Marvels, Russ, I am going to say that it's not, for me, it was not a superhero movie. For me, it was absolutely a chick flick. And of course, I had mentioned to you, like, the lob line would be, three friends who have fallen out are forced to work together to solve a common problem. Starring Brie Larson, Gianna Perez, you know, like, and it's like, and you know, like, and comic relief, you know, Samuel L. Jackson, and people will like, say what? Samuel L. Jackson in comedy? It was funny, Russ. Like, I was laughing through this whole thing. They even had a dream sequence with this incredibly hot Asian guy,
Mm.
and I'm like, this is made for anybody who's attracted to incredibly hot Asian guys, which is pretty much me and every woman. You know, like, this was made to entice me. I was very enticed by it. I'm like, why is she hanging around this? Where did this incredibly hot guy come from? What movie is this? You know, like, imagine if Thanos was played by Henry Cavill. You know, like, that's what they did in
Well,
this
you
story.
know what? That's for your sexy spacefaring blog right there. Cavill is not Josh Brolin. Cavill is just a purple sculpted Kryptonian if you want, or which he is, or, you know, he could be Thanos, he could be anyone. It's your fantasy. You can do what you can do with it as you will. Just to address Darth Plato here, who says we are about to die, salute you. I wonder what the Latin equivalent of rock would be in that. Not like a stone, but what would the Latin equivalent of rock be? I don't know.
of,
Anyway.
I don't know, but thank you, Darth Plato, always for you know, rocking it. And I love everybody talking about their. It's wonderful, isn't it? ACDC, really, we're talking about in albums, Russ, that are 20 and 30 years old.
Mm.
It's amazing what the impact it's had, and people are still listening to ACDC. I know one of the gentlemen passed away, but up until that point, Russ, they were
Mm.
touring for over 30 years, right?
Oh yeah, AC/DC started in the 70s, didn't they? Yeah, sorry, that comment just distracted me about Bonzo's big balls. Yeah, yes, they did, Brogu. They did used to have cannons on stage and all that stuff. Yeah, they were great. Yes, and these old bands are still as good today as they were. They're making huge mint now. Like on revival tours and all that sort of thing. We got one here called oh god, it's in Nottingham, and it's the name of the festival's gone out of my head. It's like a small metal festival. They often get Saxon there. They had the Scorpions there, and my daughter's favorite Ghost. I mean, I know they're not retro, but yeah.
Guys, make sure you subscribe to Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies. And I'm misspelling this. I hope I did this right. Okay.
There it is.
So, guys, make sure you subscribe to the Old Yorkshire Geek as well. And I did want to mention Mr. Londo's Groovy's Movies has something coming up at 3 o'clock. The Old Yorkshire Geek had a fantastic, I'm unable to speak. SpaceX launch. That was the one that I was watching the other day.
Hmm.
I really enjoyed that. But I also want to mention that the Old Yorkshire Geek is also an incredibly talented artist as well. So just guys, keep that in mind. We have a lot of very talented creators out there. So please go ahead and support the creators in this community.
That's what, yeah, old Yorkshire Geeks there is talking about when I was saying about putting on a Yorkshire accent. Man, I can almost hear the fucking music from the Hovis advert as I read that, you know. An up come postman. Oh yes, the good old days. Ridley Scott directed those Hovis commercials, by the way.
I didn't know that.
Mm.
So, and I also want to mention, guys, also subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel, which I'm also going to pull up here. Tom, last night I forgot to mention it, and I apologize. I meant to mention it last night. I don't know why I did not, but guys, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel. You can see it there. Guys, please go ahead and do that. Like and share. Tom has a Spartacus review. It's got 173 reviews. Wow, guys. Guys, go ahead and check out Tom's channel and support the community here. I would so appreciate if you did. So you know something. Oh, what's this? Oh, yes, yes. Okay, fair enough. Gary, Bandit Sandwich Worthington says that Cream Liverpool was my EDM jam back in the day. I was VIP. Really? Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome, Gary. And Mike Alito says that EDM and disco sounds the same. Yeah, there are a lot of similarities. Um, yes, it's true, Mike Alito. I was in there every night. So if you were in there every night, you were there with me. And I'm talking like Wednesday through Sunday night. That's how often I would go out clubbing. And I'm talking about
Yeah, me too.
I was in high school, just so you know.
Me too.
It was a very different time, right, Russ?
It was. It was indeed.
Well, you know something, Russ, it is very interesting because we were talking about the different things that we wanted to talk about um, in the show. And we really went through a lot of different topics because there were so many things that were on our mind before, you know, we were kind of like, well, what are we going to talk about today? And you know, I think what's really interesting about all of this is you did mention the Hunger Games had come
Hmm.
out, and apparently the Hunger Games is actually doing pretty well, right, Russ?
Apparently so. But you know, I had no idea until yesterday. Like I haven't heard, you know, and we're supposed to keep our eye on the ball when it comes to this. I had no idea. I hadn't heard a single peep about this movie. And then I was watching a trailer or something, and then all of a sudden it just popped up Hunger. I'm like, fucking hell, all right, okay. So yeah, I don't know if it's just me and my lack of awareness, or if this one's just like floated by under the radar, but it seems to be doing okay.
Yeah, it is. And
Prequel, right?
I think that, and I think Mikey Lito might have gone to see the film, but I'm not sure. But what I was going to say is that I'm not surprised it's doing well because one, there isn't a lot out there to see that people can recognize by name. And two, people still love that story. Like they love that whole genre that, um, and it's a prequel. So it's before the entire set of movies that were incredibly successful. The
Hmm.
books were incredibly successful. It was a very popular franchise. So I'm not surprised it's going to do well. And I think what's really funny is that Rachel Ziegler is the star of the story. Um,
Yeah, yeah, she's in a bit of trouble, isn't she? Poor old Rachel Ziegler. So
well, you know, this might have a positive effect on her career.
you
Um,
can only hope. I've said before on here, you know, I violently disagree with everything she says in these interviews, but then I think, well, you know, she's literally a kid. She's literally a kid. How old is she?
she's in her
19?
20s.
Or, you know, in her early 20s? I mean, you know, she's been told what to say. And even if she does believe this, I've got no axe to grind about that. If that's what she really thinks, I don't agree. But hopefully she can yeah, there you go. Yorkshire says she's like 21. And that's like just 18 months older than my own daughter. You know, and I remember what I was thinking when I was 21 and I was an idiot. I still am an idiot, but I was more of an idiot then. So yeah, hopefully she puts all this Snow White shit behind her. And like I said, I'm just so over this stuff now. Um, you know, I'm just over it, and people on both sides. I mean, I don't think the ones on the other side of the fence are ever going to give up. It's almost like a religion, as far as I'm concerned. But I think they're just shouting into a vacuum now, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that people would be very hard pressed to find Hollywood performers, even the crew production teams that feel the same as they do. Like it's you're not going to find it.
No.
So it's like it's a quest. I'm not going to say it's like Don Quixote, but maybe it is like Don Quixote. You're not ever going to find this place that you're looking for.
Well, we're in a. I think you know lots again. Lots of people have identified this, but I feel that the movie industry, entertainment industry, motion pictures, moving pictures, television, all that kind of stuff, it's in a weird place at the moment, especially with Hollywood movies trying to rediscover what the hell to do. And I've watched this really interesting thing, and I can't remember who was it might have even been Rob. I can't remember. But someone was basically saying these companies, Warner's, Fox, Disney, Disney because they own Fox, they've all taught us over the past 10, 15 years to watch one kind of movie. So the only movies that we'll turn up for these days are big tentpole blockbusters. And if there's anything else, we'll just watch it on telly. Or we'll just watch it on telly. We'll just wait for it to come out. We'll wait for it to come out on streaming. So whilst the superhero model and Star Wars model have been spectacularly successful, that genre's over. Like there will always be superhero movies, but the sort of constant glut of them, like musicals, like Sword and Sandals, films like westerns or whatever that we've spoken about before, they all have a shelf life, and it's come to the end of it. I was saying to you yesterday, as somebody that's loved Superman since my earliest memories, if I go back to my earliest memories as a child, Superman has been there my entire life. I love that guy so much, and I am so apathetic about the next Superman film. Like I couldn't care less. I just could not care less about it. And I'll go watch it, but I'm not like, oh, this is gonna be brilliant reboot. It's gonna be great. I'm just like, yeah, I know. I could already know what they're gonna do. The plot's already been leaked, and it sounds awful. So don't start shouting at me, Mikey. I know I haven't seen it yet, but from what they're saying about the plot, it just sounds like it's garbage. It just sounds like, oh, he's going to do this and he's going to do that and he's going to be amazing and it's going to be this. And I remember Rob Burnett opining about how awesome this was going to be. I don't want to see fucking Brainiac. I don't want to see that. And who's it about? Yeah, Brainiac's the big bad. You know, we all knew it. It's happening. So yeah, I don't care. I don't care. And that's really sad that we've gotten to that stage, I think, anyway.
Yeah, you make a good point. And Irene, Dance Dance Revolution is electronic dance music. So I think that it's great because it makes you physically move. And I think that that's positive. That's that's the second thing I like about clubbing. One, the music because it's uplifting, but two, it forces you to exercise and move around. And that's so important. Michaelita says the club scene in New York and Los Angeles is quite interesting. You went to some strange corners. Yes, I did, Mikey Lato. I don't want to go back to those days. Some maybe a little more dangerous places. I don't think I want to share that. Mario Lopez says people say that the end of the movie is the worst part of the movie, but I really like the other Hunger Games movies. Yeah, I like them too,
They were
Mario.
great. They were brilliant. I really, really, really enjoyed them. You know what was wrong with that? I mean, but then of course they went crazy, didn't they? And they had Divergence and this Vergence and that, but and Convergence and all these other movies that were all based around those young adult novels. But that was the original, except no substitutes. I don't know why I'm quoting that particular line today, but I am. Yeah, loved them, absolutely loved them, and they were really well done. They were really well acted, and Jennifer Lawrence was brilliant in it, and she's a brilliant actress anyway. And she don't get enough credit. She did that Red Sparrow, which was like, there was nudity in it, and she had to go through a lot of crap in that film. She pushes herself as an actress, but again, one silly comment on one interview, and all of a sudden she's dog shit, which I just don't agree with. I think she's great. So yeah.
And people, they just going to make differing opinions. As I told you guys before, my father would always take the contrary. So if you said something, guess what? Someone's going to challenge you. This is
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay. And, like you were expected to defend yourself. The last thing you want necessarily is to be doing that all the time. But then I realized I'm like, that's the reality of the world. I know coming on here that a lot of people, aren't going to agree with what I'm saying, and that's okay. So let's just go ahead and have fun with some of these other opinions. Some of them are kind of fun. Mike Alito says the movie was lacking, but I'm not really surprised other people liked it. Yeah, Mike Alito, I enjoyed it. Like I said, I would have gone with more friends. I definitely would have ordered some more drinks from the bar had I known it was going to be this kind of comedy. And as I told you all, I think Tiana Paris is a big star, and this is Marvel's like the whole franchise is holding her down. I think that she needs to kind of break away from it and become the star that she should be.
But isn't that what they were saying about? Certainly, the drinker and that lot was saying about Brie Larson. It's kind of like it's almost like she's trying to distance herself from her comments. She's trying to distance herself from the franchise because she was famous, right? But she wasn't huge. And I imagine, when she got the call to be Captain Marvel, and you're going to be the new face of the MCU, and we're going to kill off Tony Stark, Brie, but don't worry, your film made $1 billion. Your film's going to make $1 billion, and once that end game is finished, you'll be the one to carry the torch. She must have been like, "Fuck me, thank you, God," and it's literally just not panned out like that at all. The movie was pretty meh. Um, it's not as offensive as some people like to make it out to be, but it was offensive with its choices that it made, but wasn't great. And although it made money, as everybody knows, it made money because it was sandwiched between the two biggest films of all time, or two of the biggest films of all time. And now it's almost like a poison chalice. That mediocre reaction to the film, the length of time in between that film and the sequel for the supposed head of the new leading character of the MCU, plus some comments that she's made that haven't landed well, plus the fact it just hasn't gone well for her. So yeah, like the other lady, what's her name, the one you just mentioned, sorry,
Tiana
uh yeah,
Paris.
Tiana Paris, again, probably need to not attach themselves to that ship, which is sinking fast, frankly.
Mhm.
And if they don't, well, I wonder, with Marvel, let's just forget Star Wars, just Marvel itself. Do you think it's too late? Like,
No,
do you think
it's
you
never
don't think it's too late? Because
no.
I kind of do. I just think if they keep pushing content like they're pushing it, and so we've got a whole year now of no Marvel apart from one film, which is probably going to be the last of this iteration of the MCU, given the events of Loki and all of that stuff. So maybe, but I kind of just think the ship has sailed because Superman Legacy comes out in 2025, and that'll be a long time in between DC movies. Let's just wait and see. But I just don't think the excitement for these movies is there anymore. That's just my take
And
on it.
I think you make a good point, Russ, because remember, I'm looking at it from the point of view of someone who has not read any of the superhero comics.
Hmm.
So my interest in comics has always been indie comics, horror comics, things of that nature.
Hmm.
You're looking at it from the point of view of someone who has read these superhero comics and understands sort of like the general consensus of what this character is supposed to be like. And I don't know a lot of what these characters are supposed to be like. So in my opinion, I'm thinking they can just come up with a movie. It'll become popular and it'll make a whole bunch of money, and it doesn't matter for some of the other things that they've made, which are, let's say, mediocre. To be honest with you, Captain Marvel was like a B movie. And as I said, it is a chick flick. It didn't feel like a superhero movie. It's
Hmm.
not bad. Like, it's not a bad film. It just didn't feel like a superhero to me. And I wasn't scared of the villain. I was not scared of this woman. I was just watching. I was like, this is obviously her girlfriend from high school who, like they never got along. And like, it really felt like that. It didn't feel like she was some stranger from a strange, planet. It felt as if, oh, you remember high school, right? Yeah, well, it's on again. It felt that level of boss, not too big boss level. And I almost wondered why they didn't use this formula for She-Hulk, because we didn't
Hmm.
need She-Hulk to necessarily prove that she's strong and fit. Like, we believe that. We didn't have to be convinced that she was fit. What would have been interesting is to see that she's one of the girls, but then she has to deal with this She-Hulk thing. So she could be serious in the courtroom, go ahead and, say whatever she has to in court and be very serious. And then when she comes out, be very comedic and fun, like this Captain Marvel film, and speak to other superheroes like, hey, what's up? What's up?
Yeah, exactly. Look, they had the fucking template for She-Hulk, didn't they? I mean, look, Sex in the City. Just
Yes.
do that. Just do that. Now that film was by women, I think by women, for women. It was all about these chicks and women and buying shoes and whatever, Mr. Big and all the guys that they wanted to get. And it was all focused around female relationships. But at no point was that show offensive to
No.
to men. It wasn't like, oh yeah, men are evil and toxic, and you don't
No.
know what I have to put up with, and all of that crap that was in She-Hulk. Just make it fun, because the actress, the Slani, she's really good, and she's adorable as well when she's not being whatever they tried to make her be. Her performance was good, but it was vomit inducing in places, the lines that this actress had to deliver.
Yeah, and I think I want to make a comment about Mr. Orlando's Groovy Movies comment. It says it's hard to top the original Christopher Reeve Superman movie. Certainly, it had a huge effect over let's say, the last century. It was
Hmm.
ginormous.
Hmm.
It was just mind blowing the effect it had. And I think that Cavill, let's say, in this new century, picked up the torch and brought that level of gravitas to the role, where we got so interested in and mystified, and he kind of felt like a real person, had a lot of sex appeal, which I think Christopher Reeve had a lot of sex appeal. Well, he was smoking hot, right? Let's just be honest about it. Incredibly handsome, incredibly charming, and it was just great. Like he was kind of like this guy who knows he could do anything that needs to be done. And I got the impression with Cavill too, like when he plays Superman, he can do anything. And it's kind of like, what is the mentality when you're looking at a character or an alien? He's an alien. Okay, he's an alien. Yes, we would date this alien. What is the approach to peacemaking when it's a person who knows they can do anything? And so that's something that I think they even tried to hit on in Loki season 2. Although I personally was not that fond of the ending, I think that's what they were trying to approach, or at least
Hmm.
ask. When someone can do anything, how do they solve this major problem? And we saw all these different kind of avenues and ways that the problem could be solved, but stuff that I couldn't think about. I wasn't even thinking about any of this stuff. But as a Loki could think about those things. As Superman, you can approach this from this different point of view.
Yeah,
So
well, I think you're absolutely right, and especially just to address the original Superman movie, and then Cavill's iteration of Superman. No two men have embodied that character more than Christopher Reeve and Henry Cavill. They both played different Supermen, but they were Superman in a way that Tyler Hoechlin just isn't. Like, you don't look at Tyler Hoechlin, you know it's Tyler Hoechlin playing Superman. When you look at Christopher Reeves and he says to Lois Lane, "I never lie," and the way he says it, and you just look at his piercing blue eye and you think, "Fuck it, that's you're literally Superman. You're literally Superman right now." Superman, the boy from Kansas with the amazing powers that grows up to be a journalist. He's that Superman. All right. And although he's big, he's very muscular. He's not the alien god that Snyder gave us. Like, that man is those characters, Bruce Wayne, Diana Prince, in Snyder's verse, they are gods among us. And Cavill plays the godlike Superman who's battling with his powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men, trying to find his place in the world. It's an entirely different take to what Donner's take had. But what they both had was, as I know that Rob is fond of saying, is verisimilitude. That was Richard Donner's watchword for Superman. Like, we can't take the piss out of this, because the original script had lots of jokes in it, too many jokes, and he's, no, this is real. This is real life. This is 1978 New York City. This is how we're gonna play it. And the same with Snyder. People are, where's the fun? Where's the fun? Well, that wasn't the point of that take. It just wasn't the point of that take. The point was huge gods, global, universal issues, that aliens coming to destroy us. It was a operatic. It's a cute, very metal story. So there we go.
yeah, and Bonzo talks about Don Quixote. So of course I'm thinking of the musical. You know, it goes, "It is I, Don Quixote, the man of La Mancha. My destiny calls, and I go." So I just, I can't help myself. Bonzo, you're putting in those songs. I'm going to start singing like Cheetah Rivera on the stage. So thank you, Bonzo, for bringing that up. And certainly a very impactful story, musical, movie, wonderful cultural reference. Thank you, Bonzo, for putting that there. You knew I would sing it for you. Darth Plato says that Katniss should have volunteered for a stranger rather than her sister. I think we knew she was going to do that all along, right, Russ? When she shows up with the sister
Sure.
was so naive and innocent, and everybody would probably, just volunteer for their sibling, and or even just say go home or whatever. I almost feared that they were going to grab the sister anyway, because you know how sometimes in these movies they
Yeah,
grab
yeah,
her.
they do that, and then and of course, then even if you're like super capable, which Katniss kind of was, you've got the Achilles heel of having to look after somebody else.
Yeah, and Old Yorkshire Geek says he's only seen the first Hunger Games film. Just thought I'd share that. A good friend of mine kind of criticized the Hunger Games because of he had mentioned, this is my best friend, had mentioned that a lot of the characters in the Hunger Games are very superficial and pretty much fake. Let's say they're playing the game, they're going along with this horrible exposition,
Mm,
and he's like, it's not enjoyable to watch that, in a sense. I mean, and I thought to myself, yeah, I can see how a person might watch it and say these people are phonies, and yet they're running everything. And I took it, maybe it was a metaphor for certain things, but it is something to think about, where he felt that the characters, the ones running the show, like Stanley Tucci, who's incredible,
mm,
those people were like the Hunger Games, like it's supposed to be so exciting, and he's like, it's not exciting because they're fake. But I said, think about the characters that are not fake, like when Lenny Kravitz showed up, and he was serious, and a bunch of the other guys who also went through the games were very serious about what was going on. I said that kind of balanced out, essentially a lot of it, but the nature of the story is quite macabre. It is a
mm.
macabre story,
Yeah.
and the little Bree, I think it was Bree, in that film, the thing that, of course, was a little controversial was that they had cast this young girl to play her, and I don't know whether she was the same as in the book, because I never read the book, but a lot of people didn't like them casting this girl as that character. And I'm thinking to myself, you know it was kind of weird. It's like, she's a child, what difference should it make what this little girl looks like? Of course her getting killed was horrific, and that,
Mm.
I think, that struck a chord, and to anybody who watched it. Of course, it was not necessarily, I don't know how popular it was with men. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know how many men loved the Hunger Games.
But it wasn't. If you're a 40-year-old guy, this film isn't for you. And as it turned out, I quite liked them. I don't mind a strong female lead. And of course, this was done in the era when it was before the insanity. These films were before the insanity, so they were not. Well, I was going to say, can you imagine what they'd be like now? But I've got no idea what this film's like. This new Hunger Games film's like. I'll try watch it tonight, maybe.
Now
Um,
this is very interesting. It's in the theater, Russ, I think, if the new Hunger Games. So I'm going to
oh
go
well,
and
I'm sure we have ways of. I might jump on a plane to India and go watch it.
Mario Lopez makes a good point here, and I'm glad you mentioned this. Mario says that he finally saw Loki season 2. It was
Hmm.
not bad, but it harmed so much of all the other MCU movies. Yeah. Yeah, it becomes a little concerning when some of what happens feels like it negates or undoes what we've seen in other films. What do you think about that, Russ?
Um, Having not watched Loki, but watched enough reviews of it to not the second season, but certainly the first season, to know what happened in it. I think the most egregious thing was when you have characters that you built up over a 15-year period, like Steve Rogers, like Black Widow, Natasha, like Tony Stark, all those people that laid their lives down in defense of the universe, in defense of life, like how one mad person is on the surface like a reasonable plan. Look, we're running out of room here. We need to. This is the only way. It's not the way I want to do it, but it's the only way. And the only way I can do it is with these incredibly powerful stones and da, 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 and then they're just like, oh no, these are bollocks. What does that say you know, and I'm sure that there were people bawling their eyes out when Stark goes, "I am Iron Man," and does the thing, you know, like, and he knows he's gonna die, and then the fucking funeral, and everybody's there, and Rogers gets his happy, you know, all of that stuff, and it's all just hand waved away for a, and the joke isn't even a banger, you know,
It's a
and it's the
paperweight.
same. Yeah, it's a paperweight, and it's the same with you know, WandaVision when they brought back the Quicksilver, and then they just turn it into a cock joke. It's like, what are you doing? What? Who thought that was a good idea?
It was
Who
terrible.
thought? You know, so I think Mario's is quite correct. However, we did discuss this yesterday. Hey, you know, we're now sort of, I'd like to say we're really professional, had a pre-show chat, but we actually didn't. We just phone each other all the time and gossip about shit for about 3 hours. But I think the ending of Loki does, season two, does smell a bit like, or a quick reshoot here, to again hand wave what we've been building up with Mr. Kang, with Mr. Major's situation not been clear cut, and even if he does, even if he's found to be innocent of these accusations that's pushed against him, the fact of the matter is people will still ask the question. That's not right. That's not good, and I'm sure that guy is a brilliant actor. He will go on to have a good career after this, but he's not the sort of guy that Disney are going to want associated with their brand. Innocent or guilty, now it's too late. Like, he's sort of guilty by accusation, which is sad. So I think that the whole Kang thing is going to go away. They've got a year. Like I said, they've got one film coming out next year. We've got all these films planned and announced, and maybe even being worked on. But we've seen Warner Brothers, who've just turned around and gone, "Oh, fuck it, we'll lose half the money as opposed to losing money on marketing and things like that." Maybe half these things will get scrapped. Maybe they finally realised we have gone way off the reserve here. We've got no plan. We don't know what we're doing, and you think they'd have learned from Kathleen Kennedy and that of not having a plan. But get a plan, guys. Get a big villain that's actually threatening, or don't. Spider-Man in New York, Fantastic Four in New York doing something, you know, not I suppose with Fantastic Four you have to do cosmic. Do a good Blade movie. Make it a horror film. Make it an 18 film. Do that. Set that in Detroit, 1980s Detroit. Bang, there's your Blade film. Okay, and then we can meet Blade 50 years later, and of course he's Blade, so he's not going to age and all of that stuff. Do that. Who else? Who's Street? Daredevil. Bring Daredevil back to his television greatness, which should have been Batman Year One. Oh God, it's like a knife in my guts knowing that that's a Marvel film, and it would have been so good as Batman. But you've got all these things, so maybe go through a 5, 6, 7, 8 year period where things are happening out in the galaxy, but Earth is pretty much protected by world's mightiest heroes and the Galaxy Guardians and all those people. Give us some street level stuff. Let's just try a bit of that. Madam Web looks pretty street level. That's got Sydney Sweeney in it too. Someone was saying I meant to address that. Yeah, so she's in the new sort of Spider-Man Fox spin-off. Um, and that looks like it's fun. I think the trailer upset me a little bit when they started leaning into that Marvel humor when, you know, she says, "Oh, I could phase through things," and the black girl throws a stick at her or whatever, and she goes, "Oh, it shit doesn't work like that." And that just didn't land, and it seemed tonally out of place with the rest of the trailer. But yeah, so maybe that's what they could do. What's Mikey
Well,
says here? Oh, sorry, Aaron, what were you going to
I'm
say?
just going to quickly say that when it comes to Blade, they absolutely have to give us hard bodies. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. I want to see rock hard body like what we saw, with Wesley Snipes. I want to see well conditioned martial artists or people who are serious about conditioning playing that role. It needs to be intense. And we need to see that. I want to see that maybe in everybody who's in the film, but I think we need to go back to that kind of standard. We were getting off the chart standards, Russ. We've been spoiled in the 80s with performers who really just pushed their bodies to the limit. And
Yeah,
now you replace it with somebody and you're like, I don't know how I feel about a person playing this character where we know it was someone who was so incredibly fit. And now, it's kind of removing some of the fantasy of it. But that's what I want to see. I want to see rock hard bodies in Blade.
You reminded me of something I saw back in the day, and I've never forgotten this interview. It's Wesley Snipes has been interviewed by a British TV journalist, a black girl, and she is clearly in love with Wesley Snipes, and she like loses all her professionalism in this interview. And I wish I could find it now. I suppose I could if I looked for it, but you just reminded me. So she said to him, "Oh yeah, God, your performance is so good, and you look so good, and all that." And she said, "Oh, and the Blade voice, like that voice you use when you Blade." And Snipes just goes, "What do you mean?" Like, and he does the whole thing, and the girl just like, just
Oh
she just collapses. She's all right. She's so enamored. She's like, "Oh my God!" And of course, that's so unprofessional, right? You're not supposed to do that, but yeah, I'll see if I can find it. I would like to see that again. So, what does
there was
Mikey say? Oh, sorry.
yes, and there was a lady who interviewed why can't I remember his name? Our most recent James Bond,
Daniel
Daniel
Craig.
Craig. And she talked about, it was network television. She had to interview him. She's actually a very conservative kind of lady.
Mhm.
And she said, she asked Daniel Craig, she says, "Are you fine with being so exposed in the film?" I guess, I think this is probably something, a script that she was reading. She doesn't care whether he's so exposed or not. But, I was looking at the questions and I'm like, well, he's not that exposed. He's not nude. Like if he were nude and he was nude for like 20 minutes in the movie, I could understand. But,
Mm.
he wasn't really that exposed. She's like, "Are you fine with being that exposed?" He says, "Well, I've done other roles and I've been more exposed than that." And she, like, through forgetting herself for a moment, said, "Well, I'll have to go and rent those."
Yeah.
So, it's like sometimes we can't help ourselves. However, yeah, the rock hard bodies do make an impression.
Well,
And
that
it
was an
has to be
iconic
there.
scene, wasn't it, in the first one in Casino Royale? They completely switched the Ursula Andress vis-a-vis Halle Berry
Yes.
goddess coming out of the ocean sequence. They flipped it on its head, and it was like God coming out of the ocean.
Yes.
I mean, the guy worked hard on his body for that. I mean, people say he's not the best looking guy in the world. A little bit of what you fancy always does you good. I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that, but he looked amazing, and any guy wants to look like that. We all want to look like that when we take our shirts off, and anybody that says that they don't is probably fibbing.
You don't have to be the best looking person out there. You just have to look your best. And if your best is something that's attractive, that's good enough. This idealism of being the best looking actor, it's really kind of like a fantasy in some senses.
Mm.
Daniel Craig is appealing. He has that Steve McQueen diamond in the rough sex appeal that is very attractive. And
Yes. Well, we spoke about this. Sorry, Mikey, I'll get to this in a sec. We
yeah,
were
sorry.
talking about this yesterday, just to circle back on the Marvel thing about this mystical, or this like disappearing or non-existent demographic of women they've gone after. But the truth of it is, and I used to know, I still do know, a martial artist, lethal martial artist. She's tiny. Her name's Cecily Faye. She's about 4'11" or something like that. She's really, really tiny, but could literally break every bone in my body without breaking a sweat. And we were out the one time, and we were talking about this, and I said, "Well, yeah, at least if we get mugged, I'll be pushing you in front of me." And we were joking around, but she said something very prescient, which I think follows through into all of these things. She said, "Yeah, but I still want you to go. Like if someone come up to us on the bus and started giving us shit, I wouldn't be expecting." You to be pushing me in front of you, even though I can do all other things. What's my point? My point is that part of the female fantasy, if you like, is yes, of course, we do like to see a Sarah Connor, we do like to see a Ripley, we do like to see a Celine from Underworld, we do like to see an Alice from Resident Evil, really capable, strong woman who can mix it with the boys. But there's also a big part of many, not all, but most women's psychology. They want to be saved by someone like James Bond. They want a strong man to be there for them and to stand up for them and to look out for them. My ex-wife once said to me, we were talking about Daniel Craig when he came out of the sea, and then we were talking about the state of entertainment, and as things moved on years later, and Sal said, I don't. What I want from James Bond is to be in the bar. He comes along, he seduces me, he ravages me that night, and then leaves probably in the morning without saying goodbye. Or if he does say goodbye, it'll be something really cool before he walks out. She said, "What I don't want from James Bond is for him to pull me in the bar, take me up to the room, do all of the things, and then I wake up the next morning to see him standing there wearing my dressing gown, holding my breakfast. Like, that's not what I want from James Bond. Am I right, Aram? I don't know.
You are 100% correct. We don't want that. We just want to kind of enjoy that moment and understand that that's fine. It's totally fine. It's not supposed to be more than that, and I'm fine with it. I think that the enjoyment of it all is that we know that what to expect, and we can move on with everything. And I did just want to show the, you're going to hate me. Um, I want to show the guy who's in. Okay, so the Marvel film. I didn't know this was the guy who was going to be in it. Okay,
Hmm.
so when he showed up, of course, my jaw dropped. But that's if you like hot Asian guys. Like it's really up to the individual. This he's incredible looking. So I didn't know he was going to be
Is
in
that
this.
Ludi? Is it Ludi Lin?
No, his
No,
name
it's not.
is what is his name? His name is I can't pronounce it now.
Oh, no worries. He's not who I thought he was.
Wait, his name is Park Si Yoon.
Oh, so he's Korean.
He is Korean and he's smoking hot. And when he showed up in look, Russ, the scene has them showing up to his planet
Hmm.
and everybody communicates by singing. Now, come on. Like, I could understand the application in a comic book and in a movie, like it comes across as a musical and they're singing to each other. And then he starts to talk to Captain Marvel. And I'm like, they know each other. Oh my God, they're dating. Like this is I was not thinking of superhero stuff. All I could think of was this hot Asian guy. And like, how do we get to know him? Like, what is he even doing in the
He
story?
actually, you know what? Talking of heavy metal, he actually looks like he could be from the 80s Japanese heavy metal band called Loudness. Like literally, that guy's the bass player for Loudness, right there.
Yeah. And I want to meet him after the show. Like,
Hmm.
it was very romantic. And I'm like, so there's romance in this? I'm like, this is a chick flick. This is totally made for me. He's singing, he's nice, he looks wonderful, just come on. They totally did this for
Is he
me.
a K-pop guy?
Yeah, I think he is a K-pop.
Yeah, that's gonna be it. That's why the singing and dancing, it just occurred to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
think
must
he's
be
a
a K-pop.
K-pop guy. He swept me off my feet. I'm like in love with this guy. Um, thank you so much, Gary Vando Sandwich. Where this is the hot Autumner goes up to 11. Yeah, I think he's beautiful, and I wasn't expecting to see this. It's like this shocked me. And I think, Russ, that they put that in to grab my attention, and it grabbed my attention. It totally grabbed my attention. So I can't stop thinking about him. I was not thinking about the villain past this point. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
whatever. Who's
Yeah,
this guy?
whatever. Give me
Who?
the high Asian dude. But Aram, I did want to address Mikey's point
Yes,
because we had
I'm
it,
going
we
to
had it, we had it
pop
out for
back up.
ages.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
just to say, yeah. So Mikey says here, my fear with Marvel Russ is they are now engineering films to satisfy the loudest in the audience. Creators should create, audiences should consume. Yeah, I would say yes, mostly because it's true that if you ask a Superman fan, one Superman fan what his favorite film is or comic is, you'll get 1,000 different answers from the next 1,000 guys, right? But um, yes, that seems to have been a really prevalent thing with people listening. Studios seeming to want to appease a Twitter mob that doesn't go and consume their products. However, I would also add that sometimes listening to the fans might be the best way to print some money. Like, just give us what we want. We will, especially in the nerdosphere. Like I've said all along, we'll buy the physical media. We'll go and see the film 70 billion times. We'll go and buy all of the things that come along. Just give us what we want. And so the most famous example of that, of course, was Sonic the Hedgehog, right? They did the previs for that, and everybody said it was awful, and they listened to the fans and went back, changed the design, made it more traditional. Boom, made an absolute fortune. So, but yes, I don't think you can be completely guided by fans because you'll get 30 different answers. Be it Blomkamp's Alien sounded brilliant, Blomkamp's Alien sounded shit. Alien 3 is the worst one of the trilogy. Alien 3 is the best one of the. You're always going to get that. But I do think it's good to have your sort of your finger on the pulse, especially after the fact. Like, when the Eternals didn't land, why didn't it land? What lessons can Marvel have learned from that? When everyone was deriding She-Hulk and what's his name, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, when these things are getting constantly derided, you need to be aware of your market. You need to, even if you vehemently disagree with your audience, you have to give your audience what they want. And that's what it is. And if you don't do that, you will lose your audience, as is being proven. I mean, apparently um the opening for the Marvels is even worse than their lowest predictions. It's been a complete disaster. And they might get a bounce in Korea because of this guy, but ultimately it's not doing Marvel money anymore because people are switched off. People don't care.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Broger was saying about how no one is going to support it after all of this, and it's going to be just really a disaster. Mikey Lito says that Guardians 3 was the best since Avengers Endgame, and do check out his channel too.
I think
With
Spider-Man No Way Home was the best since Endgame myself, Mikey.
Yeah, and Mario makes a point about creators and actors cannot insult people when they don't like what they do. That's a good point. I think that it's bad for business, Mario, isn't it? That's something to think about. Darth Plato says that, hey, um, he says, I something around to seeing Loki. Not a fan, but it was a step up from season one. Okay. You
Just a
saw
typo.
some.
I got around because F
Oh,
is
thank
next to,
you.
yeah, F's next to G, right?
I apologize,
On
guys.
the keyboard, yeah.
And Old Yorkshire Geek says filmmakers shouldn't listen to the fans except when the fans make sense.
There we
Example,
go. Just what we were
Sonic the
talking about.
Hedgehog. Yes, when they designed Sonic that time, my jaw hit the ground. I
Mm.
couldn't believe what the way they made Sonic look, and I was terrified. It didn't look anything like Sonic. Thank God they went and changed that and gave us the Sonic we all know and love, and it felt good to see that friendly face again. Mikey later talks about the schedule and, Deadpool 3. I'm concerned about Deadpool 3. I want it to be raunchy. I want it to be sexy. And I want
I,
that sex appeal back.
again, I'm beginning to wonder if it's played out, and I think it's it's the sort of Ryan Reynolds factor, which once was sort of gold dust, but I think he might have been suffering from a little bit of overexposure, and Ryan Reynolds just being Ryan Reynolds. He's charming, he's brilliant, he's handsome, he's a good actor, and all that. Well, is he a good actor because he only ever plays himself? And this is kind of the point now. So, is there excitement for Deadpool 3, bringing back in Hugh Jackman and his yellow spandex and all that? I don't know. I don't know. I I thought Deadpool was all right. I wasn't on that particular hype train. I'm not going to lie. But look, it's like with all of these things, you just got to hope it's good. You just got to hope it's good. And if it's
Hello.
good, then
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, if it's good, it's good, and we'll all love it, and we'll all be happy with it.
Hello, Molly Lanny says hi all. Hi to you.
I
Uh,
don't know Molly Lanny. Welcome to Sunday brunch.
Hi. And Retro Nerd Girl says, great singing. Thank you so much, Retro Nerd Girl. I really appreciate the kind words. The Old Yorkshire Geek says, I can imagine that quixotic lyric to a heavy riff. Absolutely. I think that is very interesting. And Molly is waiting for the Godzilla -1 UK release news. We're all waiting for that. I heard last night it's supposed to be December 29th or November 29th in the States.
Mm.
Russ, do you know when Godzilla -1 is going to be coming out in the UK?
So I might have to hand in my nerd card here. I have never ever got or understood, or I just don't get why this is a thing. Godzilla. I don't know, man. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. So I couldn't tell you. It's
Well,
not it's not my wheelhouse at all.
I can tell you that it actually has a cultural significance in Japan.
Sure, but I'm from Hounslow.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so popular, especially in Japan, is because of what it represents there. So I think for people who are Japanese, or if you share that same culture, there is going to be some cultural significance to it. Not every scenario or movie has that. This one is very specific, and if you're not into that, I get it.
I know Rob and all that. I mean, he was banging on about it on one of his observations the other day. I mean, he loves it. He's loved it for years. I know you've loved it. Everyone seems to love it. I just don't. I'm not interested in Godzilla versus Kong and the Godzilla Island, and it's just doesn't appeal to me. I didn't even see was it Matthew Broderick one? I've never seen it. I remember watching the cartoon, Up from the Depths, 30 Stories High, and all that stuff, Godzuki. But that's my only interaction with Godzilla. It's just not my wheelhouse, and I'm so sorry. Maybe I should give it a go, but I've got so many things that I should be watching, and Godzilla would be the last on my list. Sadly, sorry, I apologize.
No, no worries. It's all good. As we say, everybody has their likes and dislikes. And Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies makes an interesting point, and I had not thought of this, says that Hunger Games was totally dystopic. So I think the male moviegoer didn't have an issue with any of them. I see. See, I didn't know that. And I knew it was dystopic, but I didn't know, see the sentiment. I can't imagine what, men are thinking. So it's good that you guys are kind of shooting out your thoughts and that whole thing. That's not anything that would have occurred to me. But it's good to know that, Mr. Londo. Thank you for
And
sharing that.
dystopic is an excellent name for a synthwave band.
Yes.
I can just see him with their shades and the black hair, and all that. Anyway,
Absolutely. And the film guy is here. The film guy says howdy. Hey, the film guy. It's so nice of you to be here today. We are so glad that you are here joining us. And also Bloodsport 1. It's been ages.
oh, hey man, guy with the best handle on the internet.
Absolutely. I think that's so great to see you here, Bloodsport 1. I hope you're well. I hope your family is well. I hope things are going well with you. And thanks for joining us today. So the film guy's talking about Loki and about variants. Very interesting. I think that's what you're referring to. Says, I think the Ralph Bonner guy was meant to be the first variant. And it is very interesting what you learn about variants in Loki. And certainly, I just don't like seeing him, as a spoiler, he gets trapped it feels like he's trapped. But I'm like, I don't want him to be trapped in there. He's going to want to come out and kind of, smell the fresh air, I think, one of these days. Yeah, it is something to think about. And also, let's see what else is here. Let's see. The film guy says Hollywood is unfortunately full of yes men. They are likely still blaming COVID, inflation, and sexism for the poor reception for the movies. What do you think, Russ? Do you think that they're still saying that?
I think the problem with it is the way that investment has happened into these studios, the staffing and output that they've had to do in order to guarantee their creditors, to guarantee their credit line. So you've got like Vanguard and BlackRock. I mean, there's that famous interview with the head of BlackRock saying you have to force change. You have to force change. You have to make people do it. And if people don't do what we want in regards to our ESG, then we ain't going to do business with you. So you've got to think that lots of, these films are not made, the studios aren't made of money, that they leverage loans and credit in order to make the films that will hopefully get paid back. And if they're not towing the line, right, then they're not going to get their money. But as a result of that, and it's only a theory. I mean, you can't. Yes, there is Jean-Claude Van Damme. They're still blaming COVID, inflation, and sexism for the poor reflection of movies, says the film guy. Well, yeah, maybe, but I think maybe the ideology of the employees that they brought in over the past 5 to 10 years is absolutely on song with that. Because I'd like to think that it was just bollocks and they were just having to say it. But but I do believe now that the people are sort of creative level and middle management level and people that are actually making sort of decisions, maybe it's not nonsense. Maybe that's what they really do think, and they just can't understand why the rest of the world doesn't think like them.
Yeah, this is a good point. And the Old Yorkshire Geek is letting us know that one of his favorite vampire films is Byzantium. Covered it last week on his Friday night appointment with the Fear Show. And Retro Nergo, can you
I'm going to watch that, Yorkshire Geek. Get me some Gemma Arterton, so I'm going to watch your review. I loved that film. It was really bleak, really weird, and really good. It was really British as well. I remember, I think they were in Brighton or somewhere, weren't they? It was like, or some shitty rainy seaside town anyway. But yeah, no, I'll definitely watch your review of that, mate.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've got to check that out. And Retro Nerd Girl, please post what you have coming up this week, or what you might have done the last time. I know you were kind of like looking at stuff. You were up to part 4, but I can't remember what it is. So just post and let us know what's going on in your channel as well, if you don't mind, if you have a chance, if you haven't already done so. Bloodsport says, RM, remember Arnold's big bicep in Predator and Jean-Claude Van Damme in my movie Bloodsport? How could I forget it? I had to bring it up here. Now, Russ, you
Oh,
talked about the next, you've often mentioned the second Bloodsport. Am I correct in saying that, Russ?
yeah, I had an idea for a screenplay about that, but I just wanted to say to Bloodsport, check out a channel called Space Ice. He does comedy reviews of Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal movies, and it is comedy gold. I'm not really a fan of comedy, but this guy absolutely cracks me up. Yeah, no, so there was a number of sequels to Bloodsport. There was Bloodsport 2, Bloodsport 3, and Bloodsport 4. Bloodsport 4 is an absolute abomination of a movie. It is the worst movie ever. You know, people like attack Uwe Boll, but Bloodsport 4 is just terrible. But Bloodsport 2 and 3 and Bloodsport 4 actually, but he was playing a different role. As a guy in it called Daniel Bernhardt, which is a German martial artist and male model, and really, really, really good looking guy. And he played this character called Jason Cardo, who was like a con man, and then he has to fight in the tournament. He gets caught, he gets put into prison, and and all that stuff. And then the sequel kind of carries on that story where he's telling his son about what happened and this and that. And I thought, that's really interesting. And Jean Claude Van Damme himself has been a bit hot and cold about these earlier movies and all that sort of thing. And then if you're interested, Bloodsport 1, if you go online and search for Bloodsport Redux, some Australian guy did a faux trailer for a Bloodsport remake, and he did CGI with it, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. But yeah, so I wanted to do a follow up to. I found out who had the rights to Bloodsport, and I spoke to Amy Johnson about it, and she wasn't keen. And I had the whole plot sorted out, but she was like, "Oh no, I'd rather do my own stuff." So I never actually pursued it because I'd want her to do it because of the events in Bloodsport 2. I had a whole plot line around Ray Jackson and Kim and all that stuff, and this was that, and I knew what I was going to do, but I never wrote it in the end. Maybe I will one day.
Well, thank you for letting us know, Russ. And I did pull up Space Ice here, where they have Van Damme, Stallone, Nicolas Cage, and Arnold.
It's just so funny. It is so because he puts on this really like movie trailer guy voice. It's hilarious. Trust me. And I don't like comedy, but this is hilarious.
Well, guys, do check out the channel. What was the other thing you were saying, Russ? Is it on YouTube or is it on the internet?
I can't remember what was I talking about.
Something about now I don't remember myself, but it was another. After you spoke about Space Ice, you said there was another thing that you.
Oh yeah, Bloodsport Redux.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah. It's awesome.
Okay.
It's only about 3 minutes long. We should watch it and play the show out with that because I got to get going. I got to go to the hospital.
All
Sorry,
right. I
sorry,
don't know
chat.
if I can play it on here. Oh, it's only a minute. Is it a minute?
No, that's like a teaser, and then there's a longer version. I think which is like a couple of minutes long.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to play it because they'll pull down the channel. But guys, check out Bloodsport Redux.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's really, in fact, the guy who made it, he got some level of fame out of it. Like people were interviewing him, going like, "Fuck, is this real?" And he's like, "No, it's not real." And how did you make it? How did you do this? And he said, "Oh well, I got this shot and that shot, and I CGI'd this thing, and I can't believe it's taken on like it has because everybody wanted that film."
And Brogo says he's seen so many fantastic actors, but the stories are lousy. Mikey Lito says Asian dude, he was hot. He was amazing. I can't even get over how incredible he was. And I think, oh yeah, you thought it was going to be a Bollywood dance number, right, Mikey Lito? But it was not. It was, I don't know what it was, to be honest with you. And you take care. Old Yorkshire Geek. We will see you certainly, hopefully, the next week that we're on again. And guys, we are about going to close the show. I just wanted to thank you, Russ, for being here, and everybody who is in the chat, especially my Tom Jr. Jackson. I couldn't say your name. Tom Jr. Jackson, for being our moderator and collaborator and good friend of the channel. Yeah, it's interesting to see what's going to be coming up. Russ, as I said, this is the Thanksgiving week coming up. So for everybody who's here, I just wanted to wish everybody a happy and healthy Thanksgiving who is going to be celebrating it here in the States, or even if you are not in the States, but you just go ahead and celebrate it. I sure hope you have a great one. Hey, hello to Thalia, who just popped in.
Oh, hey, Thalia. No, I don't. I'm so sorry, lovely. I don't like Godzilla or King Kong. I know, I know, I know, I know. I just don't get it. I just, when you see it, now there's a new Godzilla film. This is, yeah. Me and Mario are like bros, aren't we? I don't like Transformers either. So it's just, yeah. So, I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. I feel so
That's
bad.
okay. And Retro Nerd Girl, coming up on her channel, she says, I'm going to watch the original Gojira Japanese version to begin with my Godzilla journey to learn true origins. It should be fun, guys. So do check out Retro Nerd Girl's channel, where what she's going to be doing on her channel. It's going to be fun. She does these fantastic streams and a lot of discussion, a lot of content about the things we love, right? Stubble says, hey, I'm joining late. Stubble, we're just about to close off the show, but it's so nice to see you here.
Yeah, how's it, Stubble?
All of you guys. So I certainly do appreciate the support here, everybody. And Richard Nurgle also says, I've been doing a series on feel good movies. That was it. You'll be doing part 5. I know you did part 4 before, and it was fantastic. So I did just want to mention that. And also, Retro Nurgle released a new review for Beneath the Planets of the Apes.
I cannot wait for that. Your Planet of the Apes review was chef's kiss. Retro chef's kiss. I'm going to get on some of that action. Who doesn't love Planet of the Apes? Who cares that they're making another one out of this new movie? I don't care. I'm going to watch it. Everybody loves Planet of the Apes, even the TV show.
Absolutely. So definitely check that out, everybody. Like I said, support creators here. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Tom Jr. Jackson, we are all goof people. So great to see you all, guys. Oh, Marco. Was it you, Marco, Lonnie? Marco, it's always great to see you, Marco. I hope you and your family are well, guys. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. Please do check me out here on Positive Fandom. Like and subscribe and support. And guys, remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, everybody, always remember to please be kind, everybody, okay? And have a great day. Bye.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care. Have a good one.